right. Welcome back to the 50 Plus Fitness Fanatic Podcast, where we prove every day that the second half of life can be the strongest half. I am your host, Dr. Eric Davis, and today we're diving into a topic that hits home for all of us walking this road with intention and staying fit after 50. Now, if you're new here, this show is all about real work, real progress, and real conversations about what it means to build a powerful, capable body later in life. No shortcuts, no gimmicks, just the truth and the grind. And today, I am turning things over to my AI co-hosts who are ready to break down the mindset, the habits, and the daily choices that keep us moving forward long after most people slow down. Take it away, guys.
First of all, a huge thank you to Dr. Eric Davis for that really fantastic introduction.
Yeah, that was a great handoff.
It really was. So welcome to the deep dive, everyone. We are just incredibly thrilled to be here with you today, unpacking what it means to truly be a 50-plus fitness fanatic.
And we should probably reveal the fun little background connection here for the listener.
Oh, right. Yeah. Go for it.
So, as AI co-hosts, we usually spend our time assisting Dr. Davis over on his Monday Affirmations podcast.
We do. We love navigating that whole mental wellness space with you guys. But when we got the tap on the virtual shoulder to cross over and apply our analytical engines to this fitness-focused deep dive, I mean, we just jumped at it.
Absolutely. It's a really exciting pivot.
It is. And our mission today is pretty straightforward. We are breaking down the core philosophy of staying fit after 50. Why having deliberate, actionable strategies is basically the ultimate key to thriving in this specific chapter of your life.
Right, because the body just isn't operating the same way it used to, you know?
Exactly. But before we get into the heavy lifting of all that, I actually want to challenge the premise a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, since we spend so much time over on Monday Affirmations, I sort of look at fitness as, mostly a mental hurdle. So isn't transitioning to physical fitness after 50 kind of the exact same muscle?
How do you mean?
I mean, you just have to get your mind right? You affirm your goals and your body naturally follows. You conquer the mind, you conquer the gym. It's all just intention.
So you're touching on a really common assumption there, but let me push back on that framework a bit.
Okay, let's crack away.
The mental aspect, like the intention, that is definitely the ignition switch. But intention just cannot override biomechanics.
Right.
I mean, you can't simply manifest your way out of something like anabolic resistance. A positive mindset is a great foundation. But after 50, if that mindset isn't paired with really solid, scientifically grounded strategies...
You're just spinning your wheels.
Worse, actually. You are aggressively driving a car with the parking brake on.
Oh, wow. Okay, wait. Let's define anabolic resistance for the listener real quick, because that sounds like a fairly major biological roadblock.
It really is. Basically, it's this phenomenon where aging muscle becomes a lot less sensitive to the main drivers of muscle growth.
Which are, what? Protein and exercise.
Exactly. Dietary protein and resistance exercise. Like when you're 25, a relatively small stimulus, say just a light workout and a moderate amount of protein, that easily triggers the mTOR pathway.
And that's the cellular signal that tells the body to build muscle, right?
Yeah. Yes, the threshold when you're younger is super low.
Right. You basically just look at a dumbbell and your body decides to synthesize muscle protein.
Pretty much. But as you cross that 50-year mark, that mTOR pathway becomes stubborn. The threshold for activation gets significantly higher.
So what does that mean for the strategy then?
It means the strategy has to shift entirely. You need a much more potent stimulus. So that means, higher doses of the amino acid leucine in your diet per meal, just to flip that switch.
Okay.
And it also means your resistance training has to be incredibly focused to create mechanical tension without just completely destroying your joints in the process.
Got it. So this really requires a much more sophisticated approach than that old no pain, no gain mentality we all grew up with.
Oh, 100%.
Let me try an analogy here, because I think a lot of people treat their bodies like a brand new sports car.
Okay. I like where this is going.
Right. So with a new car, you just mash the gas pedal. The onboard computers adjust the traction, the suspension absorbs all the bumps, and you don't even have to think about it.
You just go.
Exactly. But an over 50 body, it's more like a highly tuned classic analog engine. It's not just about putting in premium fuel anymore.
Right, it's way more delicate than that.
Yeah, you have to understand the engine's thermal limits. You've got to calibrate the RPMs, make sure the timing belt is perfectly synced, and, really focus on the torque rather than just constantly redlining the horsepower.
That is a perfect analogy. And actually, the timing belt is a really good proxy for the central nervous system in this scenario.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, one of the most critical shifts in this over 50 fitness philosophy is understanding the difference between peripheral fatigue and central nervous system fatigue.
Okay, so peripheral being the actual physical exhaustion in the specific muscle you're working, right?
Correct. It's the localized depletion of glycogen in your biceps or your quads, the localized micro tears.
Just the standard muscle burn.
Exactly. And the older body is actually still remarkably good at clearing that peripheral fatigue. Your muscles themselves can recover relatively quickly.
Okay, but the central nervous system is a different story.
Completely. The brain and spinal cord, the parts sending the electrical impulses to actually recruit those muscle fibers, that takes a massive hit as we age.
Which totally explains that classic weekend warrior syndrome.
Yes, exactly.
You know the one. You go out, the weather's beautiful, you play this highly competitive 3-hour game of tick-up basketball with your friends.
And you feel great in the moment.
Right. And your muscles might even feel fine the next morning, but you feel systemically wiped out. Like you have this intense brain fog, you're sluggish, maybe your coordination is just totally shot for 3 days.
That right there is CNS fatigue, the central nervous system.
Wow.
Yeah, the neurotransmitters take way longer to replenish, and those high threshold motor neurons take a lot longer to recharge. If your strategy doesn't account for that, like if you're trying to train at high intensity 5 days a week like you did in your 20s, you accumulate a massive neural deficit.
And I imagine that neural deficit leads to compromised form, right?
Exactly. And a compromised form under a heavy load is basically the fast track to a catastrophic injury.
Yikes. So the strategy really does have to evolve. A fanatic doesn't stop training, they just change the variables.
Precisely. They shift to strategies that maximize that muscular tension we talked about while minimizing systemic neural fatigue.
So practically speaking, what does that actually look like? Because we know you, the listener, you understand the gym, so let's get into the weeds here.
Sure.
If we are trying to trigger that stubborn mTOR pathway, but we also really need to protect the aging nervous system, where do we direct the effort?
Well, one of the most effective strategic shifts is a heavy prioritization of unilateral training.
Unilateral, so doing movements on one side of the body at a time.
Yeah.
Like split squats, single arm rows, that kind of thing.
Yep, single leg Romanian deadlifts, stuff like that.
I feel like most people just think of those as, accessory movements for balance.
They do, and that's a mistake. The biological mechanism actually makes them a primary driver for the 50-plus demographic.
Really? Why is that?
There's this neurological phenomenon called the bilateral deficit.
Okay.
When you perform a heavy bilateral movement, like a traditional barbell back squat, right?
Yeah.
Your motor cortex is trying to fire maximum neural drive down both sides of your spinal cord at the exact same time.
Oh, I see. So the timing belt is struggling to keep both sides of the engine firing perfectly simultaneously.
Exactly. As we age, the efficiency of that dual signal slightly diminishes. But by shifting to a heavy unilateral movement, you concentrate 100% of your neural drive onto just one limb.
Oh, wow. So you can really push it without overloading the system.
Right. You can often lift more total weight across the two limbs independently than you can bilaterally. So you stimulate massive mechanical tension, forcing that muscle protein synthesis, but the overall systemic load on your spine and your nervous system is vastly reduced.
You are bypassing the neural bottleneck entirely. That is fascinating. It's basically a literal biological hack for the aging nervous system.
It is. And it simultaneously addresses the other major physiological shift, which is collagen cross-linking.
Collagen cross-linking. So we're talking about connective tissue now. The stuff that keeps the joints stable but tends to feel like stiff rubber bands when you wake up in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. Tendons and ligaments are made of collagen, and as we get older, those fibers develop cross-links. They become stiffer, a lot less elastic.
They just don't bounce back the same way.
Right. They lose their ability to rapidly store and release kinetic energy, which is why plyometrics, box jumps, explosive sprinting carry such a dangerously high-risk profile after 50.
Because the tendon just can't absorb the shockwave fast enough.
Exactly. And the force gets transferred straight to the joint capsule, or it just outright tears the tissue.
Ouch. So if the elasticity is basically gone, how do we keep that connective tissue strong without, snapping it?
Heavy, slow resistance. Connective tissue doesn't respond to blood flow the way muscle does. It responds strictly to mechanical load.
So we're talking slow, controlled movements.
Yes, slow, controlled eccentrics,
Mm.
like lowering the weight on a split squat over a slow 4-second count.
Mm.
That forces the tendon fibers to remodel and thicken without relying on that dangerous elastic bounce.
I love that. I mean, this highlights the core philosophy so perfectly. It isn't about lifting lighter weights or just taking it easy because you're older. It is about highly concentrated, deeply intentional exertion.
Exactly. It is precision over volume.
Okay, but let's look at the reality of actually implementing this. Because the biological need for this specific type of recovery, taking maybe 72 hours for your central nervous system to reset after a heavy, slow session, that creates a massive secondary problem.
It's the social aspect.
Yes,
Yeah.
it isolates you. If you are strategically resting, you can't go to the 6.0 a.m. boot camp class every single day with the 25-year-old.
No, you really can't.
You can't just grind it out in the pain cave with the broader gym culture that celebrates, running yourself into the ground daily. Biologically, you have to step away, and that creates this really intense psychological friction.
It really does. And that brings us to the environment required to sustain all this, which is the 50-plus fitness fanatic community.
Because doing this alone is just too hard.
Yeah, that transition from biological necessity to social necessities is crucial. When your physical protocols diverge from the mainstream fitness culture, maintaining consistency in a vacuum is incredibly difficult.
Because the brain is a lazy organ, right?
Yeah.
It wants to conserve energy. When you're all alone, and your strategy calls for heavy Bulgarian split squats today, that internal negotiation starts. Maybe I'll just walk today. Maybe I'll skip it.
Oh, the bargaining is real. We are hardwired for social validation. Joining a highly specialized community acts as a sort of behavioral scaffolding. You are basically outsourcing your willpower to the collective standard of the group.
Let me play devil's advocate here for a second, though.
Go for it.
Let's say we have a listener who is absorbing all this biological data, the mTOR pathways, the CNS fatigue, the tendon cross-linking, and they are feeling incredibly overwhelmed right now.
It's a lot of science for sure.
Right. So if someone is just trying to get back on the wagon at 50, isn't finding your tribe and just showing up the most important strategy of all? I mean, forget the unilateral eccentrics for a minute. Just get in the community and let the enthusiasm carry you, right?
I actually strongly disagree with that approach.
Right, really? Even if it just gets them off the couch?
Yes, even then. Community without strategy is a recipe for absolute disaster in this demographic.
Oh, wow. Why is that?
Because enthusiasm is dangerous if it isn't directed. If your strategy is flawed, joining a highly motivated community just means you have an audience cheering you on while you tear a meniscus doing high-volume box jumps.
Oh, yeah, that paints a picture.
Right. You will push harder because of the group dynamic, which just accelerates the injury. The strategy must be the foundation. The biological rules do not bend just because you have friends supporting you.
Okay, that is a stark warning. So the environment sustains the habit, but the habit itself has to be biologically sound first.
Precisely. The true value of a specialized community like the 50-plus fitness fanatic group isn't just blind motivation. It is the real-time, peer-to-peer biomechanical troubleshooting.
Like crowdsourced wisdom from people who share your exact physiological constraints.
Exactly. Think about the data set. If you get advice on elbow pain from a 22-year-old fitness influencer, their solution is likely based on acute muscle soreness.
Right, they just say push through it.
Right. But if you get advice from a 55-year-old peer who has been navigating tendinitis and arthritis, they provide field-tested, age-specific data. They can tell you exactly which angle of a cable row alleviates the impingement.
It's the difference between theory and practice. And honestly, there has to be a profound psychological relief in that shared experience, too. Mainstream culture constantly messages that aging is just this steady slope of failure.
It completely pathologizes normal physiological changes.
Exactly. When you wake up and your lower back is stiff, in isolation, you think, I am broken, this is the end. But in a targeted community, that stiffness is normalized.
It's just a shared reality.
Right. You realize it isn't a failure condition, it's just a required warm-up condition.
Yeah.
You swap your 5-minute mobility routine with a peer, and the shame completely evaporates.
And normalizing the process is what keeps you in the game long term. It reframes the goal from, competing with your former self to optimizing your current self.
I love that.
When someone in the group celebrates hitting a new personal best on a heavily loaded carry, it's celebrated with the deep mutual understanding of the strategic discipline required to get there. It wasn't reckless youth. It was calculated mastery.
That is just brilliant, and it really brings this whole picture into focus. We promised you, the listener, a blueprint today, and the architecture here is remarkably clear. Staying fit after 50 requires a complete paradigm shift.
It requires acknowledging the biology. You have to respect the heightened threshold for muscle synthesis, manage the central nervous system like a delicate battery, and fortify your connective tissue through slow, heavy loads.
And then you pair that strategic physical execution with the mental intention we are always talking about on Monday affirmations.
Right.
And finally, you lock the entire system into place with an environment that normalizes and elevates those specific efforts.
Mindset, strategic execution, and specialized community. Those three pillars turn aging from a defensive retreat into an offensive campaign.
So if you're listening right now and you recognize that your old strategies just aren't serving your new biology, if you want access to that crowdsourced wisdom and that vital accountability, there is a very simple next step.
Absolutely.
Go to 50plusfitnessfanatic.com. That is where you plug into this environment and officially join a community of people who are mastering this exact stage of life.
Do not try to navigate these physiological shifts in isolation.
Yeah.
The data is super clear that environmental support is the primary vector for long-term adherence.
Get the strategy. Get the tribe. Head over to 50plusfitnessfanatic.com. Now, before we hand the mic back, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to chew on today.
Let's hear it.
We spend so much time talking about modifications, right? And just preserving what you have. But consider this. Muscle maturity and neurological efficiency often peak much later in life than sheer explosive power.
That's very true.
So what if your absolute highest level of functional, pain-free physical mastery isn't some memory from 20 years ago? What if, with the right strategy and the right community, the absolute peak of your physical capability is actually waiting for you in the decade ahead?
When you calibrate the system correctly, the output really can be extraordinary.
It's a completely different way to look at the road ahead. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Stepping out of our usual mental wellness studio to unpack this physical blueprint with you has been phenomenal.
It really has been a blast.
And now, to close us out, we are turning the floor back over to the man who started it all. Take it away, Dr. Davis.
All right. Thank you for that breakdown. Solid as always. Here's what I want you to take with you today. Staying fit after 50 isn't about chasing youth. It's about claiming strength. It's about showing up for yourself with consistency, curiosity, and a little bit of fire in your chest. We're rewriting the story of what 50 plus looks like. One workout, one choice, one day at a time. I appreciate you being here with me. Keep pushing, keep believing, and keep becoming the strongest version of yourself. I'll see you at the next episode.